And welcome into the Gabe Swartz Show here on KC Sports Tonight at KC25. I'm Jared Koller on a Victory Monday. I guess it was technically a Victory Sunday, but because we're used to Victory Mondays, it's extending because yet again the AFC Championship game will be played here in Kansas City. The Chiefs are making the AFC Championship game for a seventh straight year. It's I know this was the expectation, Gabe, but it's still when you put it all together, it's pretty crazy. So coming up, we're gonna first put a bow on the divisional round, talking Chiefs positives, Chiefs negatives against the Texans, what we saw out of the Bills win over the Ravens, and then get into this matchup, which we will talk about all week long here on KCTV5 on the stream, on our newscast, and our programming this weekend as well. But, Gabe, we start with the star of the game on Saturday, Gabe Swartz, on television, showing he's got hands.
Wow.
For those of you that had an eagle eye, you saw Gabe on the broadcast this weekend. He caught the field goal.
I think it was the Texans field goal right before the half. The one that Fairbairn actually did put through the uprights.
Yeah, no one was catching them.
Which was rare.
That was way offline, his first kick of the day.
Yep.
Where does that rank on the athletic achievements for you?
That's
core
small potatoes.
Oh, wow. Okay, here I was making a big deal.
I did have the assistance of the netting, but it did come down in my lap.
But I would, again, humble Swartz time, because I wasn't even going to bring that up. I was going to be like, oh, yeah.
No, we got to tell people the true story.
Better hands than Kadarius Toney. Come on, Neil Jones never does. Why do I have to? No, all right. Let's talk about this game. You were there front row, and I assume you've seen the highlights or watched it back as well from the TV
I have
angle.
watched it back from the TV copy.
All right, so hit us with positives first, because I think this is a classic game where there were positives, there were negatives. Let's start with the good, though, because they did win, and it's a game they could have lost. I mean, that wasn't impossible. It was a close game in the fourth quarter. I never really doubted it, but they won.
That's what I was going to say is I've kept feeling like all weekend long, specifically Saturday night, as I was enjoying Commanders-Lions, I was reading and hearing people discuss this as if the Texans squandered some grand opportunity because they had a yardage advantage that was near 100 yards, conveniently omitting the fact that the opening kickoff was ran back 67 yards and set the Chiefs up with really incredible field position. And there were other special teams.
Safety at the end.
Yeah, there was the safety at the end that was a huge negative play from Matt Ariza, but it was what they wanted him to do. There was Tommy Townsend. Everybody in that stadium loves him for what he previously has done, but he hit a bad ball at one point and set the Chiefs up with field position at the 46-yard line in the second half. So I was honestly, if you want to say three phases, like the Chiefs thoroughly, it was honestly a Dave Toub masterpiece of the special teams made up for the fact that the offense was pretty pedestrian given the playoff standards that we typically hold them to.
Sure.
And for as much as people want to say luck and weird things have happened to give Chiefs wins in close games this year, like pointing to the blocked field goal against the Broncos, and I think smart people have said the blocked field goal against the Broncos back in late October or early November, whenever that was, I think it was November, was a great play by Leo Chenal. Yeah. And he did the same thing on Saturday. So I thought special teams was overwhelmingly the biggest positive, and then the second one was the pass rush. And specifically, I know that Chris Jones joked after the game, he was like, I tell George, enjoy this one because they're going to start game planning for you, buddy. So we'll see what George Karlaftis looks like if he gets a little more attention. But if he gets a little more attention, maybe that opens stuff up for Chris. Yeah.
No,
and then we had an FAU sighting.
Yeah, he played. I mean, we've seen games where Chris Jones has dominated. We've seen games where George Karlaftis had a big game or Charles Minnie have a big game. But I don't know how often we've seen that many guys have a big game, because I would argue Chris Jones also had a really solid game. He had one of the first sacks, and they gave him a lot of attention, which freed up the other guys. So I definitely think it's a team effort. I know Karlaftis is getting a lot of his flowers, and rightfully so. It's interesting, Gabe, because give you credit. You predicted a high sack total game that I definitely envisioned, but I had kind of been expecting that at a lot of different points earlier in this year, and it just hadn't come. Kind of like what we saw last year. They were really great at getting after the quarterback. And this year, it was only when they blitzed and so that's where I don't really know what was different about this game other than the Texans not having great offensive line, but they've played some bad lines before. So it didn't surprise me that they were able to get home as much as they did, but given the track record this year, it wasn't something I thought was a certainty. So good on you for predicting it, and good on the Chiefs for really peaking at the right time with that pass rush, and that's how they're going to have to win, especially with the linebacking core and a secondary that at times can give up some plays in the passing game. When you have that many guys getting home, Gabe, that is a recipe for absolute success.
Yeah, and I think that it certainly helped that the Texans' receiving core was down to needing Xavier Hutchinson to do stuff, needing John Mechie to do stuff, needing Wayne to catch balls.
Yeah, I didn't know who half the guys on the Texans were.
And that's the thing is, like, they had 8 sacks. I know that 4 of them were on the last drive of the game near the end, but there were plenty of pressures that forced very quick throws and forced off balance.
Stroud was I don't know how he walked out of there was a couple times I'm like
he limped off 2 or 3 times. So.
He and those were on plays where he had yardage. He was banged up. I mean, and that wears the team down.
Yeah, and I will say it didn't feel like a typical offensive performance, and that's where if you're going to get to the negatives, I would say that Will Anderson and Danielle Hunter kind of did what they wanted with Joe Thuney when they had opportunities to, and got pressure around the edge, and the fact that the Chiefs were able to at least hit that Mahomes to Kelsey button.
Yeah,
that's the overwhelming positive of the Chiefs' offense, is to know that we a lot of people doubted or questioned or were wondering if it was safe to assume that Kelsey could just flip the switch again and go into playoff mode, and he did. Yeah. So I will see what that looks like. The long catch over the middle, I know that one of the guys who missed a tackle was Azeez Al-Shaair, and he's a really, really good player. But shame on him, and shame on whoever the other individual was that missed a tackle on Kelsey, because I think those might have been like the first 2 missed tackles he's forced all year long. He's mostly been on the catch and go down plan, and to see that play was remarkable.
Yeah, but I don't think he's been demonstratively less effective than 3 years ago. Yes, but compared to last year in the regular season, I don't think there was as big of there was a decline, but not as much as I think people are making it out to be. Maybe that was me looking through Kelsey colored glasses. That could be, but I always chalked it up to he's doing what he needs to do. His hands were pretty great for the regular season. He was catching, and then a lot of times it's not like he was having one-on-one very often, having one-on-one matchups where, like the Texans, where he could juke a guy out. A lot of times when he caught the ball, there's 2 guys within 5 yards.
Yeah,
and that's where I don't blame him for not really trying to do like what he did against the Chargers a couple of years, where he just broke 4 tackles. And so that's where you never predict the downfall until it happens, right? I wasn't predicting the downfall. And so to see him, that first catch, I think, really got the Chiefs going, really fired Kelsey up, fired the team up, and then they kept going back to it. I don't know if the Texans specifically game plan to, let's shut down Hollywood Brown and DeAndre Hopkins and make Kelsey beat us. I don't know.
I think that they just had better answers for it.
Yeah.
Their cornerbacks are really good. Their coverage linebackers aren't the strong suit of their defense.
Well, and the safeties. The middle of the field for both teams, honestly, was where the success was had. But I think, to me, the number one positive, I know the pass rush, but I have to go with Kelsey, because I think with this offense, I think there's absolutely a world where Hollywood Brown has a big game, and absolutely a world where DeAndre Hopkins has a big game, or Kareem Hunt and Isaiah Pacheco run wild. But, Kelsey being Kelsey is still, I think, arguably the best option and the most reliable option, and it's the pedigree because, Gabe, and we'll get to Bills-Ravens later on, I think there's something to be said for Kelsey is one of the only players in the league that, regardless of the stage, I don't think any moment is ever too big for him. And you look at a guy like Mark Andrews, who's been compared to Kelsey, at least in the same ballpark. No, I don't know how many people have said Andrews is better than Kelsey, but I think the moment got a little big for Andrews, whether or not the fumble, okay, but then at least the drop, like, I don't think Travis Kelce has that, knock on wood, but, like, I think in the playoffs there's just something about these games that he is able to elevate and come through at a level that is extremely valuable, extremely reliable, even at this age where, yeah, he's not what he used to be, but he's still an absolute force that I'm grateful is on the Chiefs.
Yeah, I mean, they just have so many reps together in these moments.
The chemistry.
Like, there has to be something to be said for, in any walk of life, like even just the 10,000 hours rule of, like, if you do something enough times, you are going to get so much better at it. And the fact that Mahomes and Kelce are going on 19 playoff games together, approaching, or it'll be 20 when they suited up on Sunday night, and other teams are at the point where they've played, like, for CJ Stroud, that was his 4th career playoff game, and for Mark Andrews and Lamar Jackson, they've had, I think, 7 or 8 together. So they've not just, it's just double the experience. It's so critical to those types of moments.
And we see it. We got okay with the 49-yard play, but even things on, like, big conversions, you know, like it wasn't like, I mean, the 2 plays were 49-yard and the touchdown, but he had 7 catches, you know, and a number of them were very big, and in an offense where there's not a Tyreek Hill out there. You know, I have confidence in a lot of other guys that simply did not have great games, Gabe, and that we'll get to the negatives, I guess. But Kelce to do that, I think is great. So that was the positive for me, and hopefully it keeps going. I had one more Kelce point, but either way, it was great to see him.
To your point, like, I think the last thing to be said about Kelce is I went into the playoffs with the gap between him and Jerry Rice in the playoff receiving yards record, thinking like there's, like, he would have to come back next year to get to it. And now I'm like, man, if he just does
2 big games,
2 more times, I mean, it would still be a tall task to get to 220 receiving touchdowns. 2
receiving touchdowns away. And does Jerry Rice have a rushing or throwing touchdown?
I don't think so.
Because Kelce has 1 passing touchdown. So if you count total touchdowns
in the playoffs,
against the Steelers.
Oh yes, you're gonna. Okay. Yeah.
No, I mean, I'm just, when you compare him to Jerry, that's where you can't do total because then you got to include quarterbacks and all that. So but fun little anecdote. Just as Nick Allegretti has as many postseason touchdown catches as CeeDee Lamb, so that's fun. Nick Allegretti, by the way, has made his 6th consecutive conference championship game.
Yeah, he's on a heck of a run as well.
I mean, you know, and could make his 5th straight Super Bowl. Of course, we're talking about Washington Commanders offensive lineman, former Chief Nick Allegretti, avid coin collector. So, okay, we've gone long enough without talking about some negatives. I know Gabe is fired up to say he was right. Joe Thuney was a negative, Gabe, because he wasn't as good as I thought he could have been or would have been or maybe has been earlier in the year. But I continue to say that there's no evidence of DJ Humphries being better than that since he's come back from injury for a game. And that's why I can't be too critical, just because I can't say that DJ Humphries would have been a better option. Maybe, but there's no tangible evidence of that.
Yeah, I thought that it was interesting that even though the Chiefs set up offensively on, like, the 13-yard line to start the game, they went to a very basic handoff on the first play.
Isaiah Pacheco is a negative as well.
And then a check down that got knocked down, and then a kind of Hollywood Browns ball or nobody's ball to the back of the end zone that wasn't going to be caught. It just wasn't – it didn't feel special, but I also don't know if it's great to judge them on the first drive of the game being no rhythm right into red zone execution. I still think that the second time that they got down there and they go for an end around to Worthy, and that just completely kills the drive. I think that the offense in general wasn't at the level that I would have thought it would be.
Agreed.
But I do think that Saturday was a real wake-up call to the segment of Chiefs fans that believe that Joe Thuney at left tackle is so incredible because he's the level of of player that he is at left guard. It's really, really impressive that he's capable of playing both positions, but it's a clear step down from what is typical. It's even, I would say, a step down from the level of left tackle play that they got out of like Donovan Smith last year or Orlando Brown the year prior.
Yeah.
And when you factor in not having Tooney at left guard, it's critical in that sense.
I agree that the offensive line this year is worse than it was last year when you had Donovan Smith at left tackle and Joe Tooney left guard. That, to me, for sure.
Yeah.
However, I think the question is Tooney at left tackle, Caliendo at left guard, is that still better than Humphreys or Wanya Morris or Kingsley Mata'ia? And that's just where I think you're absolutely right, Gabe, in that it could be. But I think part of it is Mahomes has so much ability to, I think, read his offense, know when pressure is coming, sometimes too early. But I think he would rather have someone he can read better, reliable, because he's played 3 quarters with DJ Humphreys.
Yeah.
Because his one game was with Carson Wentz. And so I think when you factor in that, I think Tooney knows the line better, probably might know the schemes better, the offense better. Like, I think it's a safer choice. And it could burn him. I mean, that's where, do you give any chance that they start Humphreys this Sunday?
No, like okay. I think that the Texans are the worst matchup for it, and the Eagles in the Super Bowl would be a bad matchup because their defensive line really gets out of it, and so maybe at the end of the day, the left tackle problem is your fatal flaw that ends the season in the Super Bowl. But I do think that what you saw in Buffalo last night is that the Bills were pretty much unable to generate any pressure when they were not blitzing.
And was that kind of by design with the way Lamar Jackson plays? Because you kind of play a little bit more, keep in a zone rather than Mahomes. You're kind of running right after. That's just a question out there. I'm not saying that is the case, but that's a counterpoint maybe.
Possibly.
We'll see this Sunday. But I don't think the Bills.
But the last touchdown pass that Lamar threw, he had all day to throw.
Yeah. That was a nice play at some point, but you can't guard someone that long. So let's get to that. Final thoughts, Gabe, on the I agree. The offense was disappointing, but it was good enough. And I think it'll be better. For me, the negative, Isaiah Pacheco just remains not effective. Kareem Hunt actually had a nice run there, but I still just, with the weapons this offense has and with the lack of faith in Hunt and Pacheco, I don't want to see too many runs. Like, I
don't think you will, though. I think that Andy Reid,
especially because Bills, it could be a shootout.
It could be. I don't know if it necessarily will be, but I do have trust that the Bills have a track record of being really poor against the Chiefs in the secondary, especially when they get them in the playoffs
for the most part. Yeah, I mean, and that's where the last Bills game is so weird. The Chiefs were missing guys. They barely had the ball in the second half. That's the formula for the Bills to beat the Chiefs, is to just run the rock up and down the field, whether that's with James Cook or Josh Allen. So we'll get to that in a second, but first let's put a bow on the Bills-Ravens game. Crazy game, Gabe, because I've seen all kinds of different narratives since then. Like, I don't think either team played that great, and then that's where Neil, after the game, was saying that he thought, he was glad the Bills won because he thought the Ravens' offense looked way better than the Bills. And
I did.
I don't think that.
I did. They moved the ball. They moved the ball really effectively. They just committed
maybe that's where
critical
I factored
mistakes.
Put too much weight in the turnovers, but
I disagree with Neil's assessment that I'd rather play the Bills because I think that the Chiefs could have caused the Ravens to do all the mistakes that the Bills did.
Yes.
And I think that would have been a pretty repeatable issue. I was actually shocked by the fact that despite the fact that the Ravens were down 11 at halftime, I know that they got the stop out of halftime and then they stayed with the run. I thought that they were going to do what they've done several times in the playoffs, which is just when they get behind, completely abandon the run and then force Lamar to. And in fact, one of their touchtown drives was all runs.
And that was the most dominant one of the game. Yeah. That was great.
So I think that part surprised me. I thought that Buffalo towed the line on taking the game so far out of Josh Allen's hands that they almost just handed it to
he
Baltimore.
didn't throw
He threw the ball 22 times.
I know. Now, he was effective as a runner for the most part.
Was he? He had...
Yeah, like on the downs that he needed it, I thought, except in the red zone. That's where I think
he was 10 for 20.
That's where I thought a lot of the Bills' struggles came in Baltimore territory, where they just couldn't convert as much, and that's why I thought the Bills were the better team. Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I think it's good, but I think both teams showed their significant flaws. Both quarterbacks didn't play. But again, that's where Allen didn't make the mistakes that Lamar did. I mean, that's where I think a lot of people are not blaming Lamar for anything, because at the end of the day, he's not the reason they lost. It was Mark Andrews. But Lamar had mistakes too, and so that's where I give credit to Josh Allen for not making the mistake. He didn't throw that much, but he also didn't fumble. And that's what will come down to the Chiefs, and that's why the Chiefs win so many games. Just like they did against the Texans. Why did the Chiefs win game? I think it's because they made fewer mistakes than the Texans, whether that's special teams, whether that's, and that's even the Texans didn't turn the ball over. But penalties as well, like Texans had some penalties go against them. Fair or not, that's a mistake. And so that's where I think the Bills were slightly the better team. But God, Mark Andrews, man, that's...
But
that's tough.
I know that it's disappointing that I was rooting really, really hard for overtime, just because I wanted both of those teams to have to play
that'd be great.
As grueling of a game as possible.
Do you think Bills
but
would
I
have
think
gone down?
That's my whole point, is they had so much time left that I think that it would have become an unleash Josh Allen situation.
And then maybe they'd have more confidence going into this game.
Yeah, or maybe you get down there and Tyler Bass finally shows up his typical
but
misses.
Maybe if he makes it, that gives him more confidence going into Kansas City.
Who knows?
Either way, it was a great game. I enjoyed, especially, God, the first two drives were awesome, and I'm like, here we go. It's going to be Lions Commanders, and then it was kind of like Lions Commanders where it fell off a little bit after that. But either way, I think it's a benefit that the Chiefs have a 28-hour advantage of rest, game planning. Bills are coming here. It's not supposed to be cold, because that's where I was talking about I didn't like the Rams-Eagles game because the snow was such a factor. And I'd rather the most important games of the year be played on a neutral, where it's like both teams are playing their best.
I couldn't disagree more.
Yeah, no, and my friends disagreed too. But I just, like, if the Chiefs season were to lose and a reason why would be the weather, I'd hate that. Like, I want to go out punching, But that Rams-Eagles game was still good. I thought the Rams were winning. Like, I wanted the Eagles to lose so bad because they just were like game over with 6 minutes left. Didn't play defense, didn't play – and, gosh, if the center blocks Jalen Carter, maybe the Eagles pull off the upset. So, either way, Eagles-Commanders in the NFC Championship game, Chiefs-Bills in the AFC title game. As we come out of that Ravens-Bills talk, Gabe, how do you look at what's next?
Well, I think that there's the part of my brain that frequently goes to, this is not sustainable, this is due to change, looks at a couple things. It looks at the fact that the Bills and the Chiefs have played 10 times.
18 times in the last 17 years.
Yeah, they played a lot. And over the course of the Mahomes-Allen era of this matchup, it has been very even if you just group the playoffs and regular season stats.
Yeah.
Now,
and
I think
even.
that they're – yes, and points. And that's why it's really even, which makes me go to, are the Chiefs due to beat them more in the regular season? Are the Bills due to beat the Chiefs in the playoffs?
Or is
probably
due a thing?
But there's also different parts of this where I'm like, well, if I look at the play, like how much of it, and I truly think like the AFC divisional game in 2021, the 2021 season, January of 2022, was a true coin flip game.
Yeah,
like the Bills absolutely. Josh Allen did. He played well enough to win. The defense did not. The defense gave them the game away. There's going to be times in this rivalry, it feels like, where Mahomes and Allen both play well enough to win and one of them doesn't because other distinct situational things.
Like in the regular season, Kadarius Toney.
Yeah, exactly. Like
Chiefs
Patrick played well enough to win that game and didn't because of outside factors. And so I don't know if that's where we go to in a game like this, where I still think that the Chiefs' defense overall is a good enough unit to take Josh out of his typical Superman level of play at all times, where he's just able to do whatever he wants. But it feels to me a lot like the matchup last year, where it's going to come down to red zone operation. It's going to come down to third down operation and the margins and turnovers. And that's where the other thing that I would point to of like that's due to regress is the Chiefs haven't turned the ball over in 8 games. And the Bills have won the turnover battle in 21 straight games. And that is the longest streak in NFL history for both of those things.
Yeah, which is crazy for the Chiefs 8 game. That doesn't seem that long to me. I thought it would have been longer. But, yeah, Chiefs haven't turned the ball over since their last trip to Orchard Park.
Yeah. That interception and Travis Kelce walking off the field clapping is the last time the Chiefs turn it over.
That one they were just chucking it. But that was Mahomes' second pick. The first interception, the first drive was legit.
Yeah.
So, yeah, no, it's interesting. I went referenced the Kelce golf clap today. I think that rears its head back. I think my rant against Buffalo fans also has been brought up a year ago, and man, I hope the Chiefs win so that doesn't get brought up. But at least it proved prophetic in that year, because a lot of the replies to that, despite some things that I cannot repeat, were saying, "Oh, the Ravens are going to absolutely crush the Chiefs," or whatever. That didn't happen. Either way, it's another addition to this rivalry, Gabe. It's an awesome rivalry because both teams have had success, and the way it's slanted is unique, obviously. But I think it's also accurate in that I think there has to be an element of nerves on Buffalo's sideline in Kansas City when it gets to the fourth quarter. Here we go again, oh my gosh, the Chiefs are our daddy in the postseason. Just as you could argue, maybe if you want, like the Chiefs had it, like Bengals fans will argue that's how the Chiefs feels to the Bengals. I don't think so, but whatever. Like there's the degree of that the elites bring, and what's that worth? I don't know. I think you can make an argument that, something like Mark Andrews could happen to the Bills if it comes down to the, with the amount of pressure they feel. I think the unique part in this instance, Gabe, is I think there's more pressure on this Chiefs team than for a couple of years now. I mean,
well, this is the closest that anyone has ever gotten to a three-peat.
Yeah.
Because any team that has ever gone back-to-back, I believe the Chiefs are the first team in that situation to then reach a conference championship game.
Yeah.
So, yes, the Chiefs are at a point where
pressure.
They are truly in uncharted territory.
And so that's where the weight, but I think there's more players that even that wouldn't. So, I think that could impact, maybe Xavier Worthy or maybe, Joshua Williams. But, I don't think Kelce Jones or Mahomes are feeling that.
But I don't know how much if it didn't on Saturday when I thought Worthy had a really good game.
I do too. Yeah, I'm not saying that. Well, I'm just theoretically fourth quarter jump ball, But the one thing I would say pressure wise, maybe the second AFC Championship game against the Bengals. I think there's a lot of pressure on that one because if the Chiefs lose that game, then the Bengals have won back-to-back AFC title games at Arrowhead.
Yes,
I think there was a lot of pressure on the Chiefs to win that game, or that would have been tough to recover from. But since that game, I think this is the most pressure-filled game because what's at stake, because it's the Bills. And we'll see if the cream of the crop can continue to rise.
I would argue it's that game. It is the playoff game in Buffalo last year where everybody was saying, or lots of people were saying, can the Chiefs do it on the road? They hadn't won a road playoff game.
But I wouldn't, because that Chiefs regular season team had so many issues, and they were I don't know how much pressure I can put on the team when they're underdogs. That's what I think they're playing with a little bit more.
I do think that the Bills are the team that I don't have anything to point to this, but I would think that when we saw in that Netflix quarterback documentary, Mahomes at his house, and they're talking about the Bills and the Bengals and who would he rather play, and he said, I think the Bills are a better matchup, but I want to beat the Bengals. I think the Ravens were the better matchup, but I think he wants the Bills because they lost to the Bills already this year.
Well,
and it's kind of the last thing in the AFC to conquer.
Yes, and
for
I think
this season
that
specifically.
lore of Mahomes Allen, I think that's even more than Mahomes Jackson, Mahomes Burrow. I think that's the top matchup. I think battle of fan bases, I think it's the best possible matchup, although Ravens and Bengals also are very salty. And I think they match up well, Chiefs offense against Bills defense, but I think the Bills defense could have a strong day against the Chiefs defense. Could. I hope not. All right, final thoughts on what's going to kick off here in 30 minutes, right? 6:30 or 7 o'clock?
It's 6:30, but it'll probably start at what, 6:45?
7:45.
Yeah.
College football national championship game, into the college football playoff game. Ohio State and Notre Dame, led by former Kansas State quarterback Will Howard for the Buckeyes. Howard, of course, is has the most touchdown passes in Wildcat history. This was his one and only year in Columbus, Ohio. We'll talk again about this tomorrow as far as reactions, but